We are thrilled to welcome in former NFL quarterback Steve Beuerlein to the broadcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate you all having me on the stream tonight. That I'm really excited about being a part of it.
Absolutely, and you are on to as part of a heart health program that you are promoting.
Yes, I am, and for the viewers out there, you can go to heartflow.com/football to find out more information about what HeartFlow is all about. And I have partnered up with HeartFlow. They're a medical company that is fully dedicated toward heart health in general, but specifically to diagnosing a heart disease as early as possible, and all of their technology, which is one of a kind, first of its kind, AI powered technology that can analyze your heart from every different perspective. It actually, it's pretty cool when you get involved with it. You can actually look at your heart on a 3D perspective that shows you every chamber and every valve of your heart, and they're analyzing the plaque buildup in your arteries, which, as we all know, that's basically what heart disease is. And heart disease is the number one cause of death in the world. And so anything that we can do to kind of try and help early detection is a big step in the right direction. And I think HeartFlow is at the cutting edge of all this stuff. And I'm excited to be a part of it. Yeah.
It sounds amazing. And the study was saying that 1 in 3 former professional athletes are at risk for some form of cardiovascular event.
Yeah, and that's terribly frightening when you think about that. 1 out of 3. And I don't know if it's professional athletes or professional football players. Either way, whichever way you go with that, I'm on the wrong list as a former professional football player. And then you compare that to the general, more broad population, which is 1 out of 5. May not sound like a big difference, but you do the math. Obviously, 20% versus 33% is a huge difference, and that's one of the reasons why I've decided to partner up with HeartFlow and be a part of this. The family history that I have even made me more interested in trying to find out where I stand from a heart perspective. And this is the kind of technology that can really confirm one way or the other whether you're at risk for a major heart episode. And for me, fortunately, it came out very positive. It's a very efficient, safe, non-invasive procedure that ends up giving you incredible perspective on your heart health. And that's really what it's all about, trying to find a way to keep us around as long as we possibly can be around,
Absolutely. That's amazing. It's incredible when we see in the technology used for good, right? And this certainly is on that front.
Yeah.
So our number 1 draft pick tonight, Steve, also from the Raiders. You were drafted by the Raiders yourself. Give us some perspective just in terms of what it means to be drafted into a legacy organization like this.
Well, let me just clarify, Fernando Mendoza is at a little different level than I was to the Raiders in this day and age as the number 1 pick. I was a 4th round pick coming out in 1987, and a little different world that we were coming into at that time. That was the Los Angeles Raiders. But, I'm excited to see what Clint Kubiak can do, as the guy driving the car now for the Raiders. To borrow a term from Al Davis, he used to use the term driving the car. And Clint Kubiak now has the keys, and Fernando Mendoza is going to be given the keys on the field. I think they're doing it the right way. Bringing in Kirk Cousins, I think, is a great ending to his career, most likely. but to be relevant and part of the overall resurgence of the Raiders, I think they're doing it the right way, investing in this young quarterback, but letting him have some time to learn from a veteran who knows what it takes to be successful in the NFL, and not putting the pressure of the organization, the franchise, on him immediately, I think will bear a lot of very good, more positive results, especially as the Raiders try to figure out how they can get better across the board. Not throwing Mendoza out there from day one, I think, is a really positive thing for them.
What do you see when you watch Mendoza play, just that makes him franchise level?
Well, I think there's three things that I think you really have to have when you're looking for a franchise quarterback, and I think he's got all of those. Number one, is he a proven winner? Yes, he's a proven winner. The guy, I don't remember the last time he lost a football game. Actually, I do. It was to Notre Dame in the playoffs,
Yeah.
2 years ago. But I think that was the only loss he had over the previous 2 years. And so he's proven to be a winner and a guy that can step up in big situations. Number two, I think toughness. I mean, he's shown that he is a really tough football player, and no play symbolized that more than that incredible run he had in the national championship game, where he just sold out, gave up his body, and got that ball across the goal line. And then finally, I think you look at consistency and his ability, to make plays at key moments in the ball games, and he's got all those abilities. And so I think the Raiders, from our perspective now, there's no question that he is the right choice. Whether or not he's going to end up being an absolute superstar at the next level remains to be seen. But I think he's about as safe a pick as you can have for a guy that you can expect to come in and have success and prove himself to be a solid NFL quarterback.
You mentioned Kirk Cousins. I mean, you were not at the back end of your career, but I mean, you went into a Dallas Cowboys situation where they were bringing up a up and coming quarterback in Troy Aikman. How and the Cowboys documentary on Netflix was fantastic. You were part of it. I mean, that was a crazy year, and wouldn't have been possible without what you did in the midst of all of it. What advice can you give to a Kirk Cousins, having kind of been in that mentor situation for an up and comer guy?
Well, first off, I was only a year older than Troy Aikman, so I was still trying to prove myself as an NFL quarterback. And that year, 1991, was a year that put me back on track, because we had the success when I came in for Troy. But I learned a lot during that year, those years there, about how important it is to have all the quarterbacks, and obviously the whole team in general, but specifically the quarterback position, having everybody work together for the common goal and understanding that you have a role. And my role at that time for the Dallas Cowboys was not to come in and replace Troy Aikman and become the Dallas Cowboys' future quarterback. My role was to step in if he got hurt, if they needed me to step in and play at a high level and win ball games. And then when the time was right, give the keys back to Troy. And that's really what the situation is with Kirk Cousins as well. He's not being brought in there to save the franchise. He's being in there to keep the franchise moving in the right direction until it is time to turn it over to Fernando Mendoza. And I think Kirk Cousins has been around long enough. He understands that. And I think he all things considered, he's the absolute perfect person and at the perfect point in his career, I think, to be that guy and to be a real positive role model and set the right kind of example for Fernando Mendoza to get his career off on the right foot.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, I've enjoyed watching him as a quarterback for many years, enjoyed what we've seen in the quarterback documentary around Cousins. So like you said, if anybody can do it, it seems like he's the guy. what advice would you give to all the draftees tonight? I mean, you had an amazing longevity in your career, and obviously a lot of ups and downs. But what advice would you give to the draftees tonight, just in terms of uh, gutting out that kind of career? You know, finding your way in the NFL.
Well, I would say this, if you're fortunate enough to have a long career, there's going to be many more downs than there are ups. It is really, really hard to find, many examples of guys that didn't go through a lot of adversity over the course of a long career. And, like I played 17 years, and I think over the course of my career, out of those 17 years, I went to the playoffs maybe I think 4 times, and that's 25% of almost. That's pretty high percentage compared to most NFL guys. Most NFL players will never get a Super Bowl ring. The idea that you've made it and that you've accomplished everything when you get to the NFL, you find out very quickly that no, it's about winning championships, and it's about, if you want to last a long time, you've got to be hyper focused on doing whatever you can do to prove yourself to that organization that you're willing to commit whatever you need to commit to winning a championship. It's not about you. It's about finding a way to get to that championship and hold that Lombardi trophy when it's all said and done. If you don't project that kind of a mentality in the locker room and throughout the organization, that you're a guy they can count on, that puts the team first, and that's willing to do whatever you got to do to help, you're not going to be there very long. So I think that's my message would be, understand that you can't come in tooting your own horn and making it all about yourself. If you want to have success in the NFL, if you want to have a long career, you've got to prove yourself to that team that they can count on you long-term to be there for them, doing whatever they ask.
I saw you on, I believe, the Game Changers podcast, and you were talking about the power of positivity and the power of belief in yourself and how to get through those tough times. Like you said, it wasn't all roses and lollipops for you. I mean, Buddy Ryan called you one of the worst quarterbacks he had ever seen. Which that's classic Buddy Ryan post-game quote, or press conference quote. But I mean, that's not easy on the ego. That's not easy on the heart to know that you've given what you had given to that organization, and then to have that said about you. I mean, how do you ride that out?
Well, I can only top that by saying he's the worst coach I've ever seen. So if I was one of the worst, he was the worst. That was just not a match made in heaven. I think truly, when I got to play for Buddy in Arizona, I think he was still mad at me because when I was in that 91 season with the Cowboys, we went to Phoenix, or not to Phoenix, we went to Philadelphia and beat him on his own turf in the old vet, and it knocked them out of the playoffs, I believe. I was the quarterback for the Cowboys in that game, and I think he never forgave me for that. And that's at least what I tell myself. I don't know, but it just you have to be able to deal with adversity to make it in this business. And Buddy, that was one of the worst examples of my career of I didn't know how I was going to find my way out of it. I just knew that I had to keep my faith and my confidence in myself, and believing that, hey, if I carry myself right, if I handle my business the right way, then I'm going to find my way out of this, and I'm going to get another opportunity. And when that opportunity comes, I've got to be ready to pounce on it and take advantage. And fortunately for me, a couple years later, I got to Carolina, and things happened with Kerry Collins. I went there to be his backup, but ended up coming out of it being the starting quarterback for 3 years and leading the NFL in passing, going to the Pro Bowl, and having some really, really great years.
Set all kinds of records for the Panthers.
Yeah, yeah. Still hold all the single season records for the Panthers, but if I didn't
pretty good for a cancer that needed to be cut out.
Thank you for bringing that up. I wasn't going to bring that line up. That is exactly what he said.
Yeah.
In front of the whole team. And I mean, my teammates were more insulted by that than I was, because they knew the kind of person that I was and the kind of teammate that I was and the way that I was being, singled out and blamed for everything that he had gone into that organization and messed up. I was a scapegoat. I was the fall guy. I kept my chin up. I kept working hard. I never complained. And I think my teammates saw that, and that's why they all defended me so forcefully when those things happened.
Well, I got to tell you, just as a fan, I remember that well, and I just remember the way you carried yourself, and just as an example of just how to get through those moments. I mean, on a biggest stage, in doing what you love, giving everything you can to the organization, the way you carried yourself throughout that is an example for all these draftees tonight in terms of how to get through even the worst of professional adversity.
Well, I appreciate that. And I wish I wouldn't have to say I take pride in how I handled that situation. But I really do take pride in that. I didn't, this is the most I've talked about it in a long time. And you're bringing back some of the emotion that I felt going through that period. But, it all happened for a reason. And I think it made me stronger, and it made me surely appreciate the good times that were to come when they did come around a few years later. So it was all worth it in the long run, for sure.
Are there any players outside of Mendoza, quarterbacks or any other players in this draft that have really caught your attention in terms of, wow, that guy's NFL ready?
Well, not just because he's a Notre Dame guy, but obviously everybody's talking about Jeremiah Love. And, I think it's going to be very clear very quickly whoever lands him, whoever's going to be the one to take the jump and draft a running back earlier than they normally would be expected to draft a running back, or earlier than what would be normally considered acceptable in these days. I don't think they're going to regret it. If he can stay healthy, knock on wood about that, I think he's going to have an incredible career. And then behind him, his backup running back, Jadarian Price, I think is going to be a great pro.
Absolutely.
He's not quite, what Jeremiah Love is in terms of just being an every down running back that can do everything that you could possibly want in terms of catching passes out of the backfield, blocking, being able to just create the problems every single play on the field that Jeremiah Love is going to create. But with his return ability, Jadarian Price, what he's going to bring to special teams and situational football, I think he's going to be a great pro as well. So not just tooting the horn of my own Notre Dame guys, but they're the first two that jump out in my mind. I think they're going to be two really good running backs in the NFL for a long time.
Like you said, everybody talking about Love, but Price is slipping back into the first round on a lot of these last minute mocks that I'm seeing. So all for good reason, as you say, lot of good traits there.
Yeah. I think it'll take care of itself, whether he goes, at the end of the first round or early mid second round. I think it's going to be a pick that pays off, and they're going to find a lot of ways to do creative things with him. He's one of those kind of guys. When he gets the football in his hand, he just knows what to do with it.
Steve, you mentioned regrets a little bit. And I saw that you had mentioned at one point that the last game and just going out the way you'd want to go might be one of the regrets. But I mean, is there one piece of advice you could give to this draft class, just in terms of how to craft your career so you don't have regrets?
Well, I think the most important thing, looking back at it, to me, is to come in with the mentality of being so fortunate and grateful for the opportunity that you have to be a professional athlete. And a lot of times, I think a lot of these young kids come in and they take it for granted. And then all of a sudden it's gone and they don't realize what they had until it's too late. I think when you come in from the perspective of being grateful for the opportunity and the chance, and Fernando Mendoza, I think, does a great job of expressing that side of it. You can just see when he's talking about how lucky he feels to be in this position. And boy, I'm just so excited to have this opportunity. And it's genuine. But I think if anybody, if the one bit of advice, come in with that kind of a mentality, because people want to be around people like that. They just kind of gravitate toward people like that, because they just make you feel good when you're around people that are just happy and positive and upbeat and willing to work hard. You come in with that kind of a mentality, and obviously you got to be able to step up and play and produce when the opportunity comes to you. But a big part of it is getting the opportunity because of the type of person that you are, and because people want you to be successful, and they want to see what you can do because you're such a good person. So I think all that comes into the equation before it's all said and done.
Yeah, a lot of people get on him and they're like, well, let's see how happy he is. Once they start out 1-10 or something. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not what it's about. It's about carrying yourself with that positivity and that the mindset that, I'm going to lead you through this no matter what, and we're gonna go out and kick ass.
Yeah, he is who he is. And again, we don't know how this is going to translate, 10 years, 12, 15 years from now, whether he's going to be remembered as one of the greatest or a bust. We don't have any way to know, but I am very confident by the way that he carries himself and by his abilities that he's going to be a really good quarterback in the NFL. How good, how great, that's going to be determined by how he plays in big games when he gets the opportunity, and the consistency that he shows throughout the course of his career. But I do know that no matter what situation he finds himself in, he's going to find a way to spin it positively and to try to be a real positive impact type of guy, no matter how bad the situation might be. He's just that kind of a guy. That's who he is.
Steve, I really appreciate the time today. One more time, just in terms of how can people find out about HeartFlow?
Yeah, HeartFlow, a really exciting medical technology to detect early on heart disease, and that's what it's all about. Go to heartflow.com/football. We're trying to just get the word out about what HeartFlow is doing, and the purpose is to detect heart disease as early as possible, to allow people to get the care they need to get to it before it becomes a major problem and really affects your life in the long term.
Outstanding. Appreciate. And that's heartflow.com/football. Steve, really appreciate the time. And best wishes to you, to the family. Hope you have an amazing weekend back on campus at Notre Dame, and really appreciate you making time for us on draft day.
Glad to do it anytime. Thanks for having me, and go Irish.
You got it.